welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. Today we're going to be going over two stories about the three Nephites. They both come out of the Improvement Era. What's the Improvement Era? This is the predecessor to our current church magazines, specifically for Strength of Youth and the Liahona. Before that, it was the Ensign and the New Era. And before that, it was Improvement Era. Okay, so that's what we're looking at here. This one is dated November 1911. Just as a side note, as I was looking into this, I came across an article on Wikipedia about the Correlation Committee. We've talked about that a little bit on the channel. Well, actually a lot. Because I guess there's people that have cast doubt about certain things that get published in church publications, but the purpose of the Correlation Committee is to make sure that everything is doctrinally sound across all these different mediums, whether it's the church magazines, the institute manuals, so on and so forth. This is how we know that you can trust the material published by the church. It's been around since 1908. And initially its scope was a little bit smaller, but it expanded over time. And then in 1970, that's when the Improvement Era was retired and then changed over to the Ensign and New Era for youth. All right, so anyway, I may talk about this some other time, do a video just on the Correlation Committee, but let's get back to this. So November 1911, I'm going to start with this story. This one's shorter. It's not enough to fill a full video, so I'm going to do two. Okay, so I'm going to go down to page 85. It takes just a minute to load and allow me to scroll. Okay, so I'm going to use the current terms of today. So it says, messenger to the Native Americans. The following comes addressed to President Joseph F. Smith. Quote, in the summer of 1876. So by this point, the Saints were already in Utah. They came in 1847. The state of Utah did not yet exist. That didn't happen until 1896, so 20 years later after this occurrence. So in the summer of 1876, a personage appeared to the Native Americans out west of St. George at a place called Duck Creek. I tried to find this. The only thing that comes up is up here, northeast of St. George. St. George, if you don't know, is down here in the very southwest corner of the state of Utah. All right, this is the first... essentially, after the Nauvoo Temple, this was the city where the first temple was built. After that, the St. George Temple. That was even before the Salt Lake Temple. So it's saying that somewhere over here west of St. George, I don't know if it was in Nevada or in Utah, but this is the area where this happened, somewhere over here. Okay, this personage told the Native Americans that he was one of their forefathers and had many things to tell them, as he had lived a long time upon the earth. By this man's request, runners were sent out to all the nearby bands of Native Americans to bring them together. Quote, this personage, whom the Native Americans described as having a long white beard and as being dressed in white, remained with them for several months, and during all that time, not one Native American was seen along the Virgin River or its tributaries. The Virgin River, just so you know, Virgin River, Utah, Wikipedia, just in case you want to know. Here it is right here. So it's this river that goes through the St. George area, okay? So all along here, not one Native American was seen. Oh, there's Moapa Valley. I always think about Moapa, the Moapa reservation, because when you're driving from St. George down to Vegas, you see the signs for the reservation. Anyway, yeah, so there's that. Okay. So this is interesting because I've noted before that it seems like not every time they appear do they have white beards or they're dressed in white. One of the previous stories, I think it said that the person had red hair. So I don't know how it works. It seems like more often than not, it's probably the white hair and white beards, but I don't know. Okay, when the Native Americans returned to their homes, my brother Nephi Johnson and myself, Sextus E. Johnson, called the Native Americans together and questioned them about the personage who had appeared to them out west. They told us that his name was Nephi, the same as my brother Nephi. He told them that the Mormons were their friends and they must listen to their counsels, and that in time prophets would come among them and lead them to live a better life. They asked him how long he had lived upon the earth. He told them, but it was so many moons that they could not enumerate them. But it was many hundred years, in fact, far beyond their comprehension. President Joseph F. Smith, we are satisfied that this personage spoken of did appear to the Native Americans out west, and that his name was Nephi, one of the apostles of the Savior, who he chose during his sojourn upon this land. This is by Nephi and S.E. Johnson, written from memory by S.E. Johnson at Colonia, Morelos, Sonora, Mexico, September 11th, 1911. That's an interesting date. Okay, so there you go. Here's this one. If you don't know, on my channel, I have a playlist just for these stories about the three Nephites. If you go to playlists, all right, here we are. Three Nephites and John is the name of the playlist. So far, we've talked about the Seneca prophet. His name is Handsome Lake, and he was about to die. He was on his deathbed, very sick, when he had a vision of these three men. And they basically taught him very LDS doctrine type things. Although there's no mention that they outright told him to go find the church. But this was an interesting occurrence. Later, we have a story by Orson Pratt in the Journal of Discourses saying that Native Americans had three men appear to them in dreams and told them to go find Joseph Smith. This was before the Utah period. Okay, so this was somewhere back east. We've talked about how it's possible. I think it's very possible that the three Nephites and John the Revelator are appearing to these Messianic Jews and others. We've talked about how in this video down here, how there's a lot of Muslims that are having dreams and visions of Christ and converting to Christianity. We talked about, the Tennessee story where a man came among them, he preached, and sent them essentially, or told them to go west to the mountains, and that's where I don't know exactly when it was that they converted, but the people that he was preaching to, they all became members of the church, and they ended up in Colorado. And then we also talked about the pillar of prophecy, where there was a man that was in Augusta, Georgia, and he made a prophecy about this marketplace that only the corner pillar would be left standing because of him not being allowed to preach there. And that's what happened. Only one pillar was left standing. And anyway, so this is what we've covered so far. So if you've missed any of this, I would encourage you to check out this playlist. I'll put the link for it in the description below. So we're adding another one to the list. And now, the next one that I wanted to share with you, this has to do with Columbus. Again, this is in the Improvement era. This one is from June 1909. Okay, and if I remember right, I need to put in 41 right here. Yeah, there we go. The three Nephites. Let's zoom in. It takes forever for it to respond. Okay. The three Nephites. Did one of Columbus' sailors see them? By E.D. Partridge of the Brigham Young University. Many of the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are always on the lookout for evidences of the divine origin of the Book of Mormon. This interest led me to mark many passages in Irving's Life and Voyages of Christopher Columbus, some of which seem to be worthy of more than a mere passing notice. Columbus, though steeped in the superstitions of his day, was a very humble man. Often, while sailing aboard, he would spend a whole night in prayer and supplication. He felt that he was doing God's will in making these voyages of discovery. And no doubt, it was this feeling which caused him to say to his officers and men, when implored to return, and even threatened with death, sail on, Irving says. Page 17. of all pages, it's on page 17. Of course it is. And by the way, I don't want to get into a whole debate, but, the way that the world works and the way that just secularism and worldly philosophies are proliferating in the world, it's like they attack these things, these concepts like Columbus, and try and demonize him as though he was just like the worst person to ever have lived, along with many others. And it's horrible. You know, I I don't disagree that he probably wasn't perfect, but I trust the Book of Mormon and I trust that he was inspired to come to the Americas. That's what the Lord wanted. Okay. A lot of times people want to put the blame on him for uh, atrocities or things that happen, and it was like we shouldn't celebrate Columbus Day because it was a bad day for what it represents to the Native Americans. But if you're a member of the church, okay, we specifically have passages in the Book of Mormon that prophesy of Columbus and his important mission to the Americas. So it shouldn't be too surprising that we're about to read this story where there's this thing that happened. Okay, so anyway, he attributed his early and irresistible inclination for the sea and his passion for geographical studies to an impulse from deity, preparing him for the high decrees he was chosen to accomplish. That's really interesting. It'd be interesting to talk to him and maybe have him divulge more of his personal life, because who knows? Maybe he had visions. Maybe he just had very strong, like it says here, impulses from the Lord. But it seems like he was prepared to do this. Okay, and when he came before the King of Spain asking for royal and financial support, quote, he unfolded his plan with eloquence and zeal, for he felt himself, as he afterwards declared, kindled with a fire from on high, and considered himself the chosen agent by heaven to accomplish its grand designs. That's some pretty strong. That's a pretty strong idea, right? Worldly people may be like, oh, he was a narcissist, or he just had grandiose ambitions, and he was driven by money or fame or whatever. That's what he really wanted. But I would probably take him at his word based on what the Book of Mormon has to say about him. Okay, this is very significant when compared with the following. Quote, and I looked and beheld a man among the Gentiles who was separated from the seed of my brethren by many waters. I'll have to zoom out. And I beheld the Spirit of God, that it came down and wrought upon the man, and he went forth upon the many waters, even unto the seed of my brethren, who were in the promised land. 1 Nephi 13:12. By far the most interesting paragraph in the whole volume is found beginning on page 329, which I will give after quoting a few passages from the Book of Mormon. I've always been deeply interested in the account of the three Nephites, and have often wondered if there were not on record somewhere an account of their having been seen by someone outside of the church. I am almost convinced that Irving has made just such a record. Now, I would add to that, like I said, we do have this account of the Seneca prophet. Okay, this doesn't really have anything to do with the church. They were not like the church wasn't mentioned in this story. This is something that's just separately recorded from the church. These other ones, obviously Orson Pratt and a strange personage, and then the pillar of prophecy. Yes, there has been LDS members of the church involved with these stories, but not the Seneca prophet, and not the this Columbus story. Okay, turning now to 3rd Nephi, 28th chapter, we read, "And it came to pass when Jesus had said these words, he spake unto his disciples one by one, saying unto them, What is it that ye desire of me, after I am gone to the Father? And they all spake, save it were 3. We desire that after we have lived unto the age of man, that our ministry wherein thou hast called us may have an end, and that we may speedily come unto thee in thy kingdom. And he said unto them, Blessed are ye, because ye desire this thing of me. Therefore, after ye are 72 years old, ye shall come unto me in my kingdom, and with me ye shall find rest. And when he spoke unto them, he turned himself unto the 3, and said unto them, What will ye that I should do unto you, when I am gone unto the Father? And they sorrowed in their hearts, for they durst not speak unto him the thing which they desired. And he said unto them, Behold, I know your thoughts, and ye have desired the thing which John my beloved, who was with me in my ministry before that I was lifted up by the Jews, desired of me. Therefore more blessed are ye, for ye shall never taste of death, but ye shall live to behold all the doings of the Father unto the children of men, even until all things shall be fulfilled according to the will of the Father, when I come again in my glory with the powers of heaven. For ye have desired that ye might bring souls unto me while the world shall stand. Behold, I was about to write the names of those who were never to taste of death, but the Lord forbade. Therefore I write them not, for they are hidden from the world. But behold, I have seen them, and they have ministered unto me. And behold, they will be among the Gentiles, and the Gentiles knoweth them not." Well, again, we just read a story where apparently, if this is a true story, and I don't have any reason to doubt this, it seems like one of them, their name is Nephi. As far as the other ones go, yeah, they've appeared to the Gentiles. You have the strange personage in Tennessee, and then you have the Pillar of Prophecy story in Georgia, and undoubtedly there's many other places that they've gone among Gentiles. You wouldn't really consider the Seneca prophet and the Seneca people Gentiles, right? Because we generally recognize them as Lamanites. And, when we say Gentiles, when we're talking about like Europeans or other parts of the world, we're calling them Gentiles in the sense that they come from Gentile nations, but they are scattered Israel, right? The majority of people that come into the church do have Israelite blood. We've read a bunch of different quotes that basically said that literally everybody there's probably very few pure Gentiles that have actually joined the church. Um, anyway, so yeah, so anyway, let's continue. Um, the 3 disciples are mentioned in several other places by Mormon, and Moroni says in Mormon 8, 11, and 10 that he saw them and they ministered unto him. Here we have the evidence that they lived and labored among the people several hundred years after the great promise was made to them, and we believe they are still living and performing the mission given them by Jesus Christ. I will now give the above mentioned paragraph from Irving. It is in the account of Columbus' second voyage of discovery to America. He was cruising along the coast of Cuba when one day he anchored near a beautiful palm grove. Okay, and here's the thing. Here, a party was sent on shore for wood and water, and they found 2 living springs in the midst of the grove. While they were employed in cutting wood and filling their water casks, an archer strayed into the forest with his crossbow in search of game, but soon returned, flying with great terror, and calling loudly upon his companions for aid. He declared that he had not proceeded far when he suddenly espied through an opening glade a man in a long white dress, so like a friar of the order of St. Mary of Mercy. Let's look that up really quick. Sorry, I have to. Friar, Saint. What was it? Okay, a friar of the order. Maybe I can copy this. Well, let me copy it. I would love to see what that looks like. Yes, it copied it. Okay. Images. Okay. Here's Mercedarian Friars USA. Whatever. Something like this. Order of Mercy. Here's the Order of Mercy. Let's go to their website. Order of the Blessed Virgin Mary of Mercy. It's probably something like this. Yeah, look at that. Like these guys. Like them. Okay. That at first sight, he took him for the chaplain of the admiral. That's interesting. At first, he thought that he was seeing the chaplain. Two others followed in white tunics, reaching to their knees, and the three were as fair complexions as Europeans. Okay, so there was one, and then two others followed in white tunics, reaching to their knees. Interesting. So I guess it cut off at the knees. And the three were as fair complexions as Europeans. Behind these appeared many more, to the number of 30, armed with clubs and lances. What? Okay, let's keep reading. Okay. They made no signs of hostility, but remained quiet. The man in the long white dress alone advanced to accost him. But he was so alarmed by their number that he had fled instantly to seek the aid of his companions. The latter, however, were so daunted by the reported number of armed natives that they had not courage to seek them nor await their coming, but hurried with all speed to the ships. You're gonna wait and like figure out this mystery? Why not? Okay, so a man in a long white dress. The other two, the tunics came down to the knees, and then it talks about 30 others, like of like the same type. Like I don't know. Okay, it is stated now this is off the account now. It is stated that Columbus sent two different expeditions in search of the three white men. Okay, three white men and their followers, but both returned unsuccessful. Okay, so the three were white men. The other ones were presumably the natives of that area. Irving apologizes for the appearance of this item in his record and states that since no tribe of Native Americans was ever discovered in Cuba who wore clothing, the matter probably arose in either error or falsehood. I hate when that happens, when you see something and then later. Now, I would never do this, okay? But there are people out there that are ashamed. They don't want to be ridiculed. And so they doubt what they saw and then they just like cover it up, right? Because they don't want shame, or that's something that's not supposed to have happened. And so you like rewrite reality in your head. Okay. Anyway, no apology is needed, however, by the Latter-day Saints. The account given by the archer portrays conditions just as they would naturally be with the three disciples. They lived among the people when the vision recorded in 1st Nephi was taught. They were, of course, looking forward to its fulfillment. They were to bring souls to Christ till he should come again, and had probably been busy gathering bands of followers all over the country. They, of course, taught their followers to wear clothing and to live as much of the gospel as they could. They naturally would have to arm themselves against their savage neighbors. See, now here's the thing, because like obviously I don't think that they were like setting up congregations in the sense that you would have like the priesthood there, like priesthood holders. The reason why I say that is because when we were looking at the story of, I want to say it was the Tennessee prophet, a strange personage, he had told them that he was not able to give them the priesthood or something to that effect. That there, or maybe I think he was talking about the ordinances of salvation, but that a prophet would come to them that had authority to do that. So what I take from this is that they're probably, and the same thing with the Seneca prophet, is that they're not so much like setting up wards or branches or formally organizing a church among different people, but they're like preparing that people. They're taking a group of people and they're like, hey, I need you guys to level up. Okay, just do it. I'm sent from God, just do it. And then later on through time, this group is more prepared for when missionaries come among them. That's my theory. I think that's what's going on. And I think that's what's happening with Muslims who are having dreams and visions. I think that's what's happened with like the Seneca prophet, so on and so forth, the Messianic Jews, that groups of people have to go through phases. You know, you can it's like easier that way, it's better that way, that people should go step by step, line upon line, precept upon precept. It's interesting that with the Seneca prophet, one thing that the three men told him to do, or told him to stop doing, him and his people, was to stop drinking alcohol, which is really interesting. Okay, so let's go back to this. Columbus and his sailors were looked upon by the natives as visitors from heaven, and their appearance among them was heralded all over the country. Their movements were watched closely from the shores, since whenever they landed, they found themselves not unexpected. It does not take much imagination to see the disciples and one of their bands following the movements of the ships from the trees or mountains, awaiting a favorable opportunity to make themselves known. In fact, there is nothing in the report of the archer which is in the least at variance with what might be expected from our knowledge of the Book of Mormon. As I said before, I am almost convinced that this is the record I have been looking for. And then Provo, Utah. And that's the end of that article. So I find it interesting. I think there's some more, because originally, let me go here. Let's see. I'm on archive.org, 3 Nephites. The way that I came across all these stories is there's a book on here. I'm going to show it to you right now as soon as it pulls up. Exploring Western Americana. Okay. So this is on archive.org. I don't think it's in print anymore. Let's see. Exploring Western Americana, Austin E5. Exploring Western Americana. There it is right there. Okay. Oh wait, no, that's not what I want. Go back. I have to do it again. Exploring Western Americana, Austin E5. Let's see, Google Books, Amazon.com. Okay, so you can buy this on Amazon.com. If you want it new, it's going to be $69, but used, only $16. This might be a good book to buy because it has all these stories. And basically what they do, they just take it directly from the improvement era. Let me go to this view. I just want to see what other stories we have waiting for us. Let's see, borrow for 1 hour. It's going to take a minute. Okay. Let's go here. I just want to go down to the table of contents and see what other stories there are. A Mormon from the cradle to the grave, folk culture, material, ballads, and songs. Yeah, but where was the 3 Nephite stuff? Okay, the legend of the 3 Nephites among the Mormons. That's on page 55. Let's go down here. Well, too far. 80. Okay, so here we are. So it kind of does like an explanation of like what the three Nephites. Nephites. I'm sorry. Oh gosh. Okay. So there's a list here. There's a list of the different. Okay, so here's a strange personage. So we already covered that one. The Pillar of Prophecy. We've done that. A messenger to the Native Americans. We just did that in this video. The three Nephites, did one of the Columbus sailors see them? We just did that in this video. I think there might be a few more. Okay, so we have a wonderful testimony. There's My Nephite Visitor. That's an awesome title. My Nephite Visitor. Okay. Ziegler's Conversion. A Visit of One of the Three Nephites. The Three Nephites. Let's see, oral accounts. Anyway, a Nephite brings a special spiritual message. So there's like no shortage of these, it doesn't look like. And I will go just like I have been doing. I'll go to the original source, which is in the church magazines. And I know that some of you have sent me stories already, and I'll go over those as well. I'm going to fill up my playlist with every single three Nephite story that there is. I don't know what this counting is here. Let's see, 15. I remember reading of a man traveling with his team, believing he was hauling lumber, and they said that there was a man wanted a ride. He stopped and let him get on. It seemed to be in a country where there was not many trees, more of a desert. So they conversed about one thing and another for quite a while. Finally, the man driving, the other one was sitting behind him, asked a question in turn, and he was gone. There was no possible chance for him to get away. That was published early. Calvin Hall, age 75, Washington, Utah. And I don't know, what's FMC? What's FMC? Do you guys know what FMC? I feel like I've come across that before. FMC. Anyway, yeah, there's a bunch of these. One of the three Nephites miraculously furnished food or gives a blessing of plenty in exchange for hospitality. This is really cool. Unclassified accounts. Oh. So they were classified before. Top secret. Accounts collected by Hector Lee. My gosh, there's so many. There's a lot of these. So I guess this is like a count of all the different stories. We're up to 45 different stories. 46. And then, okay, so 46 stories, and then after that, general conclusions. Yeah, we are going to cover all of them. Oh, is this the notes? Okay. Will this help me? No, I guess the references are under each story, so I'll just have to look at the reference for each one. And maybe I just might have to read directly from this book. I don't know. All right, well, that's going to be it for this one. So hope you enjoyed it. I think that this is really cool. It's fun to see what might be going on, because when it comes to reality, so we have the scriptures, and there's a lot of information in the scriptures. On top of that, we have General Conference. We have the people that you know in your life, but that only accounts for such a small amount of things that go on in this world. You have these special stories that are out there, special experiences that people have. Some of them are undoubtedly, some of them are too sacred to write down. Other ones, more on the appropriate side to write down. And I think that, these accounts of the three Nephites would be appropriate to write down unless you're like directed not to, either by the Nephites themselves or John the Revelator, or just by the Spirit. You know, and certainly you guys never send me anything if it's like really sacred to you. Just like use good judgment, please. Um, but it's good to like see these things. Now, are all of these true? Um, Probably not. There's probably some liars. Okay. Because when it comes to this type of subject matter, like when you're talking about things that are um, legends or kind of on the mythical side, I'm not saying that the three Nephites are a myth. I'm not. But when you have things, so this would fall under the same kind of category as like, I would call the category unverifiable things. And things that would go under that category would be some of the three Nephite stories, like the little tiny one that we just barely read. How are you going to verify that? Um, Near death experiences, spiritual experiences that don't have to do with near death or the three Nephites. This is within the realm of the unverifiable, and unfortunately, no, I believe that there's a lot of near death experiences that are true, that are real. I have people in my life that I trust that have shared some near death experiences, and they weren't really anything spectacular. Like my grandpa, when he was within the last like couple of years of his life, it may have been the last year, I'm not exactly sure. But me and him were just like sitting down, and we're just having like conversation, and then he just like slipped in this story about how he's kind of like slipped out, I guess, of his body, or he I don't know if it was like during his sleep, but he said that he saw, like a group of people, and he couldn't like see their faces or make out who was who, but it was like a very real experience, and he knew that they knew him, and that they were family and stuff like that. And it was just like a very short experience, and that's it. There's nothing more to it. And then he kept like talking. I'm like, whoa, Grandpa, you basically just said that you had a near-death experience. Can you elaborate on that? But there wasn't much more to elaborate on. Um, so the unfortunate thing is that you have people out there that are narcissists that are looking for attention, and usually they try to get attention in any way possible, and the cheaper the better. And so sometimes people will fabricate stories that cannot be validated, they cannot be authenticated, substantiated, such as near death experiences, because maybe somebody had some kind of surgery, and they're like, hey, I want to jump on board the near death experience train and get some of that attention. And there's sick people out there that do that, and even sicker people that will take false stories and then publish them as books and sell them, right? And go to things like IANDS. I think they're called IANDS. Let's see, YouTube. This is like one of the main, if not the main, like organization for near-death experiencers. IANDS. I want to say it's IANDS. What does that stand for? IANDS is a membership, nonprofit, 501c3 organization. Yeah, but what does that stand for? It's like international something. It may be International Association of Near Death Stories. I don't know. It's something like that. Whenever I'm like watching these, I always prefer to, if possible, watch ones that are like older, before this became a thing, because it seems like before maybe the 80s, this wasn't really a topic that was discussed very much in the open. People would just kind of not share much about it out of fear, because it's like they themselves had never heard of anybody having a near-death experience, and so I feel like a lot of those earlier ones are maybe a little bit more authentic. Um, oh, I'm just seeing here. It says IANDS was founded in 1981. Yeah. I want to say that it's probably around the 70s that this started to kind of come into the public eye. And I've heard some of these that are just, they are just flat out, they're lying. I know that they're lying. If you know how to read people, um, you generally have like a feeling in your stomach if someone is a liar or they're not, or if they're trying to pull one over on you. And I want to say one person that I don't believe, and it's perfect that she's right here, is this one.
Okay.
Wait, is that her? I think this is her. This girl, if it's the one that I'm thinking of, she was a member of the church. Um, and as you can tell just from, looking at her outfit, she's not anymore. And she had a near-death experience, quote unquote, where basically she says that she learned that the church wasn't true, and stuff like that, right? You have other ones. You'll have people that will say, "Yeah, no, um, there was no judgment, there was no right or wrong. Everything is just perfect." And other ones will go into, "Oh yeah, there was no gender there," or things like that. It's really sick that people would fabricate this experience and then turn it into a political thing, or uh, basically soothsaying, where you're telling people things that they want to hear. It's like flattery. It's like, no, you're not doing anything wrong. It's not possible for you to do anything wrong. That's not true. And one of the arguments that I always make in my mind when I'm listening to some of these is that there could be some where they actually did have an actual experience, but they interpret that experience as like knowing more than what they do. So let me just explain what I mean. So in our theology, in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, if you were to die, we know that you go to the spirit world, right? And there's probably more to it than what we know very little about the spirit world. Who knows what actually happens when you cross over? Like as far as like the details go. But if you go into that world, okay, and then you come back, you don't know what the rest of the story is. Like you may have learned a lot of things over there, but in our theology, essentially, it's like the world is a classroom. Everyone's taking a test. And then your test is kind of interrupted for a minute. You go out into the hall, and then the teacher talks to you, and it's like, okay, are you done with your test, or do you want to go back and, whatever, continue? So it's like you're in like in a waiting room, or you're not like out of the school yet. You're just like out in the hall, and you're declaring that like what's outside of the school, right? Do you think that they're going to give you the answers if you come back? Like once you completely die and you move on, who knows what happens after that? As far as like we know what happens after that. What I'm saying is like these people, you don't know what happens after that. Um, so anyway, you really have to use you have to be careful with these, because it's an opportunity for someone to say, "Oh no, you can do that. That's fine. God doesn't care about that. You can smoke. You can enter into one of these. You can enter into an LGBTQ thing, and God's not mad at that at all," or whatever you want to say. And who's going to say that you're wrong? And then if I was to like go to one of these people and be like, I think you're lying, everyone would pounce on me and be like, "Hey, you shouldn't invalidate her experience. You weren't there. You can't say." And you're right. You're right. I can't. I can judge for myself and be like, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right at all. Um, so that's why you have to be careful. I would never tell this lady right here, like, no, that's not true. I would never do that. Okay. it wouldn't be called for. If she was in my family, then maybe I would be like, come on, that's not true. Like, I would feel comfortable doing that with a family member that I was close to. Um, I would, because I don't live in bizarro world. I live in reality, right? And when somebody is saying something that contradicts what you have experienced yourself, like when you experience miracles in your life, you feel the Spirit, the Lord does miracles for you, He answers specific questions about the church, and so on and so forth. Well, then you're starting to encroach on my personal subjective experiences that I've had. So something's wrong here. And then, there's people there's one thing that they do with the discrepancies, because there are discrepancies between people's near death experiences. Sorry, this video went from talking about the three Nephites, now we're talking about near death experiences. Okay, so there are discrepancies between people's near death experiences, and so one kind of like mechanism, or one thing that they use to explain the discrepancies is, well, heaven is like an elephant, and so in like you're okay, so you have like five blind people, or you put like masks on them so they're blind, they can't see, and they're asked to describe what they feel. And so one person is feeling the trunk, and it's like, oh well, it's like a long, tube-like thing, and then another person is feeling the ear, and it's like, no, it's like a big flappy thing, and then another person's feeling the leg, and it's like, well, it's like a big, like a trunk of a tree. And so what you're supposed to get for the moral of the story is that it's all the same thing, you're just experiencing a different part of the elephant, or a different part of the afterlife. And I don't know, that could be true to some extent. Certainly, just like when we're born into this life, we all have a different experience. So yeah, that makes sense. Um, but when it comes to like declaring that certain doctrines are incorrect, or there's no true church, or there is no Jesus, or whatever, again, maybe you did have that experience, but maybe you didn't fully understand it, or just the fact of the matter is you didn't stay there, you came back. And it's for you to, in this life, as part of this mortal test, to find Christ and enter into covenants with Him. You're not just going to be given the answers. It's like, okay, you have a moment here. You have a choice, because one of the things that they commonly report is that they have a choice. There's kind of like one of two scenarios. Either someone kind of dies, like they die, and then it's like, oh, sorry, you have to go back, and they don't have a choice. The other category is that people are given a choice. It's like, okay, you've lived your life to a certain point, and you have the choice if you want to stay or if you want to move on. And typically what happens in that scenario with the ones that return is they choose to return. And they usually choose to return because they have family. They know that if they didn't come back, their children, their spouse, their other family members, friends, they wouldn't be there for them, and they feel like, no, I need to be there for my family members, my friends, and stuff like that. And that's how I feel about life. Like, I would not care one bit, not one bit, if I died right now, if it wasn't for my family. I'm being completely serious, and I'm not saying that I'm not at all like wanting to die. Like, don't think that I wouldn't like do something to kill myself, but um, I would not be sad at all if I did. I'd be like, okay, phew, that's done. That sucked. Okay, that's one reason why, for me, I'm really looking forward to the millennium, because even though it's not heaven yet, it's a step closer to get out of this garbage world that we live in, where here you have down here Patty Mayo. He's a bounty hunter, and I watch him a lot. There's a lot of swearing and stuff, but he goes for these people that don't show up for their court dates, and um, well, I guess he wouldn't show when people just like go willingly with them, but the on the show they show times when the people don't go willingly, and usually they'll fight and they'll throw things or fight them or throw bricks or whatever. I'm tired. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the Patty Mayo situations. I'm tired of people going to jail because, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't go to the jail. I'm tired of being around people that should go to jail. I'm tired of people that have public freakouts. Um, I'm just tired of wickedness. I'm tired of Hollywood. I'm tired of vulgarity just all over the place. I'm tired. So death would be just welcome. It'd be something that I would welcome. But anyway, here we are. We just have to like just do this, get it over with, and try and find the joy in this life, because there is joy to be had. And the most joy that you'll ever find in this life and in eternity is in your marriage and your family and your friends. That is the source of joy. Anything else is just like a pleasure, or narcissism looking for attention. It's either something that's pleasureful, like candy or other things that are not good for you. Well, candy's not really good for you, but it's not like other things. It's okay to indulge in some pleasures with limits, in moderation. But true joy can be found in this life, even though it sucks, in your family, and having good quality relationships with people, and living righteously. Living righteously brings you peace and it brings you joy. So that's what we have to do while we're in this really crappy situation, as we're waiting for the world to end. Her story, again, I don't know that this is the person, but she looks like the person I was talking about. She said that when she was having her near-death experience, there was like a couple, I think there was like a few angels that were there, and she was just like asking all the questions that she wanted to and getting all these answers. And one question that she asked was, which is the true church? Is it this? Is it this? Or is it that? And she said that the angels looked at her as though she was asking, well, okay, the moon, is it made of cheddar, Swiss, or pepper jack, or whatever? As though it was like a stupid question. That's basically the feeling that she got from the angels. Is like, what do you mean there is no true church? And again, like I said, I don't know if she really had this experience or not. I wouldn't be surprised if she actually didn't, and she's just bitter from against the church and wants to have, her moment of receiving narcissistic supply. I'm not calling her a narcissist. I wouldn't be surprised. That's all I'm saying. But if it was genuine and she's telling an actual true story, you think that the angels are going to give you the answer, or that they're going to tell you, when you're supposed to be here proving yourself and showing that you have faith, that you can hear the Spirit, that you can hear the Lord's voice, do you think that they're going to tell you the answer, right? If they were going to just tell you the answer, then the Book of Mormon, the gold plates would be with the church right now. And the church could be like, hey, look, everybody, here's the gold plates. And there's no need for faith or anything like that. You understand why faith is important? It's because there's different levels of people, right? You have like 3 degrees, the 3 degrees of glory. You have 3 different types of people. And people on the lowest level, they're the type of people that they live in the world. They only care about the basic needs, survival, surviving socially, things like that. And so higher up principles and concepts don't really make sense to them. And so in my mind, the reason why faith is the first principle of the gospel The very first one is it's a test. It's a way to see, are you somebody that can feel that the Lord is there? Because there's people that don't, because that doesn't matter to them. They're focused on survival. They're focused on worldly pursuits and concerns and stuff like that. So are you somebody that's capable of living outside of the objective world? Objective meaning things that you can see, touch, that other people can verify, because there is a subjective world. When we feel the Spirit, that's a subjective experience. It's not something that you can take to somebody and be like, hey, on Saturday night, September 24th, 2022 at 9:17, it's 9:17. At 9:17 p.m., I felt the Spirit. Here, let me show you. Like I can't give that to you. That's something that I felt in that exact moment, right? So it's a subjective experience. It can't be verified by other people. And if you're not somebody that will listen to that, to those subjective experiences where you feel the Spirit, that's a problem. That's a problem. You have to be able to hear him, right? Isn't that basically what they're pushing right now in General Conference and stuff like that, is to be able to hear him? It's essentially, well, it's more than just faith, because what they're going for is, excuse me, is things like personal revelation and recognizing the truth, that, you know, recognizing that the church is true, recognizing that the prophet is speaking what the Lord would have him speak. So anyway, getting back to this, it's like the angels are not going to just give you the answer. You have to go through the process. You have to go through the plan of salvation. This is called the plan of happiness. It's a plan, and this is where you determine what category of person you are, if you're telestial, terrestrial, or celestial. And celestial people, they find out the truth both by doing objective things like reading the Book of Mormon. It makes sense. I don't see how Joseph Smith could have written this, as well as subjective things. You know, the Book of Mormon, I don't know about it, but logically I can't explain it. But the Spirit told me. I could feel that it's true. I could feel these things. The Spirit told me. And then later on, as you exercise faith, you have signs that are in the objective world. You know, this thing happened, and it could not be coincidence. It was so specific. And this is what happened. It was on this day. I was at this place. This person was with me. They saw it too. You see what I mean? So anyway, that's my thing when it comes to near-death experiences. I'm incredibly interested in them, but I feel like I can tell when people are lying and when they're just making stuff up. Okay, so that's going to be it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.